Alex, could you tell me the story of the Sealback cocktail?
Absolutely. It was discovered in the early 90s by Adam Seeger, who was the bar manager at the Sealbach Hotel bar at the time.
I know it well.
They were knocking down some walls, and he found an old crinkled piece of paper with a recipe written down on it. It is bourbon, Cointreau, Angostura bitters, Peychaud's bitters, and it's topped with champagne, which is very odd. The recipe said that it was a result of a clumsy bartender dropping some champagne into a Manhattan.
Sounds delicious.
And they served it to the guests anyway. The guests loved it, and it became a staple for the bar, even becoming their signature drink, so they named it after the hotel. Once it was discovered, it kind of took the nation by storm in the 90s, like this old cocktail that just disappeared from history and then was refound, and it made its way onto menus coast to coast. The greatest thing about this cocktail, about the whole story, is that it's all total bullshit. Seeger admitted about 20 years later that he wanted to make a signature drink for the hotel and found a recipe he really liked and just decided to make up this really great classic story about it. It just goes to show that you never want to let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Boom.
Welcome to If This Bar Could Talk, a podcast about bartenders and the stories they have to tell, as well as the storied history of cocktails, spirits, and bars. I'm Blair Beavers, and here's your host, Leanne Sims.
So happy New Year, listeners. We're starting the year off right with a fabulous guest. His name is Alex Eiler, and he is the bar manager at Sidebar. Welcome to the program, Alex. Thanks for coming. So we interviewed Chris Spinato. He was the bar manager at Sidebar. He's moved on to Washington, D.C., so we wish him all the best. So we already know that Sidebar is an amazing place, an amazing happy hour. Great hospitality. Tapas Tuesday is the best. But tell us about you. What's your favorite spirit to work with?
I am a clear spirits kind of enthusiast. I started with gin. Kind of moved on to tequila as I got older. It's just a little bit cleaner on my intestines, I guess. But I still love. I grew up on bourbon. I'm basically a lover of all. But clear spirits, vodka, gin, tequila are kind of my go-tos for working with.
Too.
Yeah.
Except vodka. Maybe.
You can always work with vodka.
That's true. I always say it's the iceberg lettuce of spirits. It just takes on the flavor or whatever you with it. So you can't hate that.
It infuses really well.
There you go.
If you want to do something like that. If you don't like the flavor, just put something else in it and it'll take it on.
Yeah. Great. Do you have a favorite cocktail that you drink?
I am a tequila and soda person if I'm not at a cocktail bar.
Tequila and soda.
Tequila and soda.
You know, I've never done that.
You know, it's exactly what you think it is. It's tequila and it's soda. It's just a way to thin out your tequila, give it a little bit of effervescence, maybe throw a lime in there.
I love that idea.
I'm a no bar fruit kind of person. I just don't waste it. Give it to somebody else. I'm not going to use it.
So are you reposado, blanco?
I'm more of a blanco.
Okay.
I find that after a long night, I can wake up the next day. I can go exercise and feel fine. If I stick to blanco all night.
Mm-hmm.
What about to make? Spirit. Do you have a favorite cocktail that you make?
If Chris is listening, he's going to laugh because he knows the answer to this. The improved tequila cocktail, which is a take on the improved whiskey cocktail, which kind of begot the old-fashioned, more or less the same thing, just with a reposado tequila and like a honey syrup or an agave syrup instead of maraschino. So Angostura bitters, Peychaud's, a little bit of absinthe rinse, reposado tequila, and just a little bit of agave stirred with a lemon.
So kind of a twist on a Sazerac in a way.
Yeah, the improved whiskey cocktail, or the improved or the improved group of cocktails, I guess is what they're called, is sort of like the precursor to a lot of things, and they kind of fall in between a lot. So it's in between a Manhattan, a Sazerac, and an old fashioned.
Got it.
So an improved, is that the actual name of the cocktail?
That's the actual name.
Okay.
So the whiskey cocktail being more or less an old fashioned, or more or less a Manhattan, is more or less just flavor and whiskey or whiskey and water. That's technically a cocktail in its own right. So when the expatriated bartenders were coming back from Prohibition. They were bringing back absinthe. They were bringing back Luxardo, and they were just using it in drinks. So they were just called these drinks the improved drinks.
Okay.
So it's just the next step up from this drink.
How long have you been bartending?
Oh, let's see. It is 2020 now, so about 5 years.
Okay.
I started as a door guy in a music venue and worked my way up from jumping from there, working as a door guy at a couple different places. I called myself a freelance door guy. Really, anybody needed some help and I was not working. Kind of, hey, you need somebody to sit at the door and check IDs? I can do that.
Awesome.
So I went from there to working retail and back and forth between restaurants and retail. And finally, I was working retail, and one day my request for Christmas was denied, and I only get to see my family like once a year at Christmas. And I said, you know what? I'm done. So I put my 2 weeks in right for 2 weeks before Christmas, much to their chagrin. And I went full-time as a barback host, kind of utility person at Strongwater, and then worked my way up from there, from kind of weaseling my way into bartending and serving to being one of their closing bartenders to taking over their bar program, and now here I am.
Nice. And you're a musician as well.
I am. I play drums, I sing, and I can get a lot of sounds out of a lot of other instruments.
What kind of music do you play?
My band called She Bears is, I would say, melodic indie rock. Kind of loud, not too loud. Melodic, not like folksy. I don't know, we're guitar driven. Like I said, loud enough to wear earplugs at the shows.
So have you been playing your whole life, or when did that start?
I started playing drums when I was about 13, very poorly. I took drum lessons for about 2 months, decided I didn't like my teacher, and said, you know what, I think I'm going to kind of stop. And then my friends wanted to start a band, and they said, hey, you kind of know how to play. And so we just kind of learned from each other, and I've been self-taught ever since.
How often do you do gigs?
We are in the process of a recording right now. We're about 80% done with the full length. It'll be our 4th or 5th full length.
Oh, wow.
So we're kind of taking a break from playing shows right now, but we're still practicing once or twice a week and recording at least once every 2 weeks.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we've been playing together for about 11 years.
Very cool.
Do you have a website? And
You can find us all over social media at We Are She Bears. And that's SHEBEARS, She Bears.
We'll have to look for that. Listeners, look that up. You and I have a connection.
We do.
We are both, your grandmother lives in my hometown of New
Yes.
Albany, Indiana.
Yes.
You never lived there, though.
I did not.
Your dad or?
Yes, my dad and his family have lived, or his mom has lived there almost her whole life, and my dad grew up there in New Albany.
When was the last time you were there?
Oh, we used to do Christmas there every year. As my grandmother gets older, she's 95 now.
Oh, wow.
Her house just isn't big enough to hold our expanding families, so we now do it in Athens, Ohio, but we did it up at her house up until about 3 years ago. So the last time I was there was actually, I would say, 2 years ago on a separate trip.
So you need to go back.
Sure.
It has changed a lot for the better.
Sure.
It's still a sleepy little town, but it's really, like, there's a lot of new stuff happening. We were just there this past weekend and
checked out a couple of bars.
Yeah, so we went to the Earl, which is a newer cocktail bar.
Sure.
Their cocktails are very sweet. They need, sweet for me. So I think they need to maybe pull back on the sweetness a little bit. But the bartender was amazing, cool atmosphere.
There's a great place, Pints and Union, across the street.
Pints and Union
I have
is
been to Pints and
amazing.
Union.
You
Yeah.
have?
I
Okay.
have, yes.
We like that a lot. So
I've always loved the little town. I mean, even before it was modernized, and I saw it in my mind as where my grandmother lives, as this like old little town. But
yeah.
it's, the last time I was there, I noticed that it was really changing, and there was a lot of new stuff going in.
They're trying. Yeah. It's hard in the shadows of Louisville.
Sure.
Everybody goes to Louisville for everything. But
Well, now you got to pay the toll to go across the bridge.
yeah, that's true.
So you mentioned that you're from Boston. How did you make it to Ohio?
Sure. So, like I said, my father is from Indiana. My mom is from Cleveland. Initially from Canada, but grew up in Cleveland. They met at Ohio University and then moved when they graduated out to Boston to take a risk on some graphic design careers for my father. So I've been out there. I was born and raised there, just about 25 minutes northwest of Boston, little suburb called Winchester. When I was 18, I decided I did not want to live in Massachusetts anymore. Love the state, love to visit, but I wanted something a little different.
Wait, aren't the Wahlbergs from Winchester?
They are not from Winchester, but they are from No, they're from the. I don't know.
I think they are.
They're not from my town. Let me tell you that.
Oh, okay.
I would know if they were from my town. I would know. But
I thought they were Southies.
yeah, that's what I thought too.
Oh, okay, maybe.
Yeah, Winchester's a more like white bread northwestern suburb. So when I was looking at schools, a lot of my family had gone to OU, and I knew I didn't want to go anywhere in Massachusetts. I applied to some safety schools, so I didn't have to go too far.
You didn't want to go to MIT? Or Harvard?
It would have been great. It would have been great if I was that smart. But my music recording degree with my English minor and music minor didn't necessarily play super hard into Harvard for me. So I ended up at OU, and I graduated.
Solid.
Yeah. I had a great time there. Learned a lot. Everybody always asks. People always say, "Oh, you went to OU, party school." I'm like, yeah, I had my fun there, but I got 2.5 degrees. What?
Nice.
What do you want from me?
What are your degrees in?
So I have a degree in music technology and also English, and then a minor in music.
Oh, wow.
So I moved up here in 2010 with my band because we thought Columbus was a good jumping off point if we ever wanted to tour, which we did a 25 city tour that summer. And we thought if we want to do this again, Columbus is a great Midwestern jumping point. So we kind of moved here, and I've been here ever since.
And this is the same band that you're still with?
Same band.
Wow.
How long ago was that?
That was 2010.
10 years ago.
10 years.
Nice. So what's new at Sidebar? Do you have a new menu?
We actually just put out 2 new menus. Both of our cocktail menu has changed, and we just put out a new food menu as of last week.
Your food's so amazing.
And the food hasn't changed too much. We took away a lot of our entrees, but we sort of parsed them out into small plates. And so instead of getting a lamb shank with a side of risotto and broccoli or mashed potatoes or whatever was coming with it, now you get the lamb shank, and then you can also get the mashed potatoes or the risotto or anything else that you want.
Oh, nice.
And they're still very generous portions, and they're not $30 anymore. It's maybe a $16 dish. But, mix and match your sides. And like I said, still very generous portions. But the cocktail menu we released the day after Christmas. It has been a long work in progress. We started working on it, I think, before I started working there, which has been a little over 2 years.
And we saw a preview of it the last time we were in.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, I know I've done at least one of them for the tour at some point.
Yeah.
But we basically switched out about 3/4 of the menu. We kept some mainstays that are never going to go away. I mean, we can't ever get rid of a Moscow Mule on our menu.
Or Stockyard Pony.
Exactly. Stockyard Pony is a modern classic. It sells very well. The tequila-based drink, the Wise Old Man, is still on there. But other than that, the 4-step, the vodka fruity drink is still going to stay forever just because it outsells everything else. That being said, the rest of the drinks, we have a 13-drink menu, and they're great. I mean, we have everything from dark and stirred and spicy to light and tiki with fire, and a really great mezcal egg white drink that's on there. And it's a good variety. And so far, there isn't a front runner as far as what's selling, which is amazing. When you go somewhere, you kind of can guess what's the most popular drink, and they all seem to be balanced out so far.
Great. So they're all delicious.
Absolutely.
That's what we like.
Nice. We've never had a bad cocktail or food experience at Sidebar. It's just such
appreciate that.
We can't say enough about that.
No, we appreciate that.
Yeah, we do.
That's what we're here for. We're here to take care of you.
So how does your process go for creating cocktails?
I'm going to echo something that I've heard both Gary White and Travis Owens say. And as a musician, I build it like a piece of music. Now, I don't really compose, or I can weasel my way around a piano, but I still think of it in the same way as you got your bass, you have something that augments it, which is, let's say you're building a 3-note chord. You have your bass, you have something in the middle that kind of augments it, and then you have your top note, which is your garnish or your flash of citrus or something to brighten it up a little bit. So I like dark and boozy and stirred for the most part. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the times, if I'm just experimenting with stuff, I work around what flavors I know. I might pick up, an allspice dram and say, hey, you know what? What do I want to do with this? I might grab, a bourbon or a dark aged rum or something like that and say, all right, I got these two flavors. How do they work together? Do they work together? Do they not work together? Mm-hmm. Why don't they? Why do they? What can I add? One more thing. And then I go from there. I usually start with a 3-ingredient base and then continue to expand or contract appropriately.
So is this something that you do on your own time at home, or do you do this on before you start service, or how does that work?
I will often maybe have an idea at home, mm-hmm. but my home bar tends to get consumed fairly quickly Depleted. By anybody else or me. I'm a type of person, I will buy 1 or 2 bottles at a time, work my way through them, and then continue on and do the same thing.
Makes sense.
So I'm not one of those people with a huge home battle station that can, but I also have the benefit of being able to go into work and I have access to 200 bottles we have on our shelf.
Yeah.
And the owners are okay with me doing that, which is nice.
That is nice.
So I can try to conceive of an idea, usually draw inspiration from something I'm reading, something I'm listening to, something somebody said to me, hey, I had this great creme brulee the other day, or I had this great bananas Foster, and I said, oh, you know what? I got something for that. I can, or I think I do. And then I'll get to work and either it works or it totally tanks. Mm-hmm.
Now, we talk about this a lot on the podcast. Is your palate, is that something you've learned, you've trained over time, or is just something that comes naturally to you? Or do you read it in a book if what flavors go together?
My actual palate is pretty bad, I would say. At least initially it was. I did a lot of reading. I would say, much like my own instrument, I'm more or less self-taught in this profession as well. I read as much as I can. Flavor Bible really helped me because my palate for wine, I've done hundreds of wine tastings, and anybody can tell me that, you taste red fruits, black fruits, dark, cedar, oak, I'll believe you, but I don't taste
I'm
it.
The same way.
My palate just isn't that refined.
Yeah.
And so I understand more maybe from a food side, but to be honest, I like really bland food.
Okay.
So it's more of, all right, I wanted to make a pear drink, something with pear in it. Mm-hmm. I wanted to use real pears. I wanted to use different kinds. What pears, well, pardon the pun, but what pairs with pears? Pepper does. Okay, that's what makes sense to me. All right, spice. And pepper, to me, screams tequila. Because for me, first thing I ever taste on a tequila is that pepper note, at least for a decent one. And so I kind of went from there and ended up making a really great wintertime cocktail at Strongwater before I was at Sidebar. Sold really, really well. And it was just 3 kinds of pears in a spice syrup and reposado tequila and probably something else that I'm totally forgetting. But
it sounds amazing.
That's how my thought process works. Is I'll probably start with, I want to use this ingredient because it sounds interesting, and then I'll try it 7 different ways, and if it doesn't work, then I'll scrap the idea. But
interesting. So what about the naming of the cocktails? How does that process?
That is something that I'm terrible at. Puns are always the go-to, and I try not to be too funny, but I try. The first one that comes to my head is usually something totally inappropriate for a restaurant.
Like what?
Oh, shoot.
And we can come back to that if you can't think of one.
Oh, man. Yeah, let's come back to that.
Okay. So
I have some written down that are somewhere.
So think of names, write them down, and then do you have to run them past the owners, or do they just basically let you name?
At Sidebar, I have pretty much creative freedom. They know that I know what is appropriate and what is not. In my younger days, maybe I tried to get away with some kind of funnier puns that maybe some people would get and some people wouldn't. But generally, I have total control over our menu.
Nice.
So we can name whatever we want. Chris and I were working on one of my drinks that ended up being called the Flock of Cigale. Cigale is rye in Italian. Mm-hmm. We originally had that named as Steven Cigale, and then we decided that because of his political orientations, we decided to change the name to something that was funnier.
Yeah, I like
without
that.
being
I like the
political.
Flock of.
Right. I mean,
Yeah, I like that better.
you gotta feel out your craft.
And it was a good
sensitive
cocktail.
to-
I tried it last time we were in there.
I appreciate that.
Good stuff. Speaking of cocktails, you're going to make us a cocktail right now.
I am.
What are you going to make for us?
I'm gonna make you something that it's an original creation of mine. It's called the G and J, just the letters G and J.
Okay. G and J.
It is a split base Tanqueray Redemption Rye with some Aperol, a little bit of Luxardo, some Angostura bitters, and some Reagan's Orange bitters as well.
Ooh, it sounds wonderful. Okay,
Is
we're
it
going
a
to...
riff on a gin and juice, or?
It is not. It is named after two people.
Oh.
There's actually a really great story here. These two people have been regulars that became friends of mine for years. They came in, and they were one of the first people that would trust me enough to say, hey, make me whatever you want. And so they'd come in every time and just say, hey, go ahead, be creative, do whatever you want. You know what we like, go for it. And so they really, really helped me develop my skills just on coming on a slow Tuesday night or something and just say, hey, go for it. We'll pay for whatever, however, just don't kill us. But
Yeah, nice.
And so they came in for years, and then one of them pulled me aside in the spring of 2017 and said, hey, can you make sure it was you're working on this day? It was a day I didn't normally work. I said, that's the week I'm on vacation. I'm actually out of town. He looked at me and said, oh, okay, well, that's a bummer. I looked at him and said, you guys have been together for 19 years. Are you guys getting married? And he said, how did you figure that out? I said, no, I've been together for 19 years. You come in every week. You guys getting courthouse married? I said, how do you know these things? I said, I can see it on your face.
I'm a bartender.
Right. And so I said, I won't be there, but I promise, you trust my staff to take care of you, and I will leave you a present.
Aww.
So I created this for them. One of them is a big gin drinker. The other is a big rye drinker. They both like smoked drinks. The ice that I'm going to use is actually smoked ice. So it's smoke infused ice. And it's going to get a little flamed orange on top. But this was something that I created for their wedding to be delivered to them, even though I couldn't be there.
Oh, that's so
That's great.
sweet.
Yeah.
You're a good guy. Can you tell their names?
Greg and Johnny,
Nice. Are they still married?
they are.
Nice.
That's good.
Even
Very,
better.
very happily married.
Even better. All right. Well, we're gonna take a break, and you're gonna mix us up a G and J, and we'll be right back. And we are back with the G and J cocktails, celebrating the love of G and J.
Cheers.
Cheers. So it's a beautiful orange color. I can really, really smell the orange. So, listeners, if you go on our Instagram page, Blair is going to post a video of Alex lighting the orange rind on fire. What's the trick to getting a good flame on that?
So unlike most of the time, when you do an orange peel or a citrus peel where you don't want any of that rind or the pith on there because it adds some bitterness to it, rather than using a peeler, if you take a knife and cut a little disc out of the citrus, it gets a little bit of the rind on there, and it's a lot easier to pinch, and so it shoots the oils out across the flame rather than kind of like sort of weakly expressing the oils like you would with a twist. So a disc works a lot better for that.
Okay, so you smoked the ice.
I did.
How did you do that?
I used a smoking gun. And so I just took a bowl and covered it with saran wrap.
Okay.
Took the smoking gun, fed it in underneath wood chips in the smoking gun, lit it, let it permeate for about 10 minutes, smoked it again, repeated the process about 3 or 4 times. I will say, drinking this, I don't taste as much as I did the last time.
Of the smoke?
Yep. It's not super prevalent. I think the wood chips that I was using may have been a little older than the
I'm
last
happy
time.
about that.
It's there, though.
It's there. It's
Yeah.
supposed to be subtle.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't want a bell jar smoke.
No.
You know, I just wanted a little bit. And as you drink it down, or as it melts the ice that's in your glass, which is also smoked, it'll just get there a little bit. You know, it's not mezcal smoky. It's not torch the glass smoky. It's just mildly smoked.
I feel like if it were more smoky, it would overwhelm the gin.
Sure.
Because right now I am tasting the gin and the rye
Absolutely.
and the Aperol. I'm tasting it all. But I think that if you had smoked it more,
Yeah.
you'd overwhelm that gin.
And so you cracked the ice while you were making the cocktail
I did.
with some sort of tool.
Yep. It's an old school ice cracker. It's just a stick with like a wooden ball in the middle. It's specifically designed for cracking ice. It was used a lot during like 60s, 70s house parties, you know, or I see a lot of people do it for hand hewn ice. You know, if you take a big ice block and cut it yourself. I know the guys at the bottle shop use theirs a lot, just to cut it down to fit in the glass.
Gotcha.
So you'll take a big chunk and then just cut the edges off of it.
And it could also be used to keep your patrons in
Oh,
line.
absolutely!
If
It's a
needed.
great tool to have behind the bar.
Whack!
Yeah.
All right, so it's gin because G likes gin and J likes smoky. So you use the rye for J.
I don't even think I told you that, so you just figured that out.
No, I think you said that.
Did I?
I'm not that bright. And then Campari, which
Aperol.
or Aperol, yeah, I always mix those up. That gives it a nice sweetness and
And oranginess.
oranginess, and then Angostura bitters, and then what's the other bitter?
Reagan's orange bitters.
Why that specific?
Those are my favorite kind of orange bitters. They're
Okay.
not too strong. I find that some of the other brands are a little maybe too on the bitter side and less on the orange side for me. And so that's just kind of what I've always, after I tasted a couple of them in different combinations, just the one I've always liked. And they're cheap. You know, they're not crazy expensive like some of the high end brands.
It's really
and there's
delicious.
a little bit of that sweetness comes from there's a bar spoon of Luxardo in there,
Oh, okay.
which is something, again, I used Aperol rather than Campari just to keep with a little tad sweetness, but also get that orange and grapefruit sort of flavor in there. And just barely any sugar on top.
Okay. So usually I would say that many ingredients would all get lost, but they really don't.
Nope.
You can pick them out.
I was trying to design something that paired perfectly like these two people, because I know it's really cheesy, but
It isn't cheesy.
As
It's
soon
wonderful.
as I met them, the reason that I did meet them was they were coming in to the bar I was working at on their date nights because they lived not too far away, and that they actually changed their date night to a different night of the week to make sure that they'd always be there while I was working, so that I would,
That's great.
so we, built this relationship. So I know them very well, and I understand their personalities, and they're different people, obviously very different people, but they work really well together. So I wanted everything to like balance really well in this drink.
Very nice. It's very, very tasty. So I know you listened to our last podcast with our super fan Megan, and one of her requests was that if they could go into the bar and request this cocktail, would she be able to do that?
That is the great thing about this cocktail, is other than the smoked ice, which I will not make all the time because it's kind of difficult to do, or it's not practical to do it in large format.
Right.
So other than the smoked ice, I can make this drink for anybody, anytime.
Okay.
Everybody always has these ingredients. I might switch out the rye or the gin, depending on your tastes or my availability. But I'm always going to have gin. I'm always going to have rye. Always going to have Aperol, Luxardo, and both of those bitters and oranges at my bar.
Okay. So you heard that, listeners. Get over to Sidebar and get the G&J cocktail or something else. So you mentioned that G&J would come in and just say, I trust you, make me whatever. Is that annoying to you generally, or how do you feel about that?
That's a good question, and it depends on the night. I always try to say, read the room. If I'm slammed, if I'm working on the service bar and I have 10 tickets in front of me and you're sitting at the one seat that I can also service, and you say that to me when I'm in the middle of obviously making 7, 10, 12 drinks at one time.
They're going to get a Budweiser.
Yeah, make me whatever you want. It's going to be, I'm going to pull Bill Murray and say, here's a shot of tequila. Yeah. Somebody else will be with you in a minute. But, it really helps that they started doing that on nights when it was slow.
Yeah.
It's a fun thing to do, and it's a great way to build a relationship with a bartender. Mm-hmm. If you are there on a slow night and you say, hey, can you make me something? But don't ever expect them to just be like, yes, and then go and just make something that you'll absolutely love. You should expect them to ask, what do you normally drink? That's normally how I follow that up.
Okay.
What is your spirit of choice? Do you like sweet? Do you like savory? Do you like smoky? Do you like dark boozy? Do you like light and citrusy? There's a lot of questions that you can ask. Mm-hmm. And I know there's a bar in my hometown of Boston called Drink. They were, when they first opened at least, they won all these sorts of awards because they don't have a menu. And so you go in and there is no menu. So you have to talk to your bartender and say, I like whiskey, I like gin, and I like martinis, but I don't feel like a martini. Can I have, and they'll walk you through the process. And I'm sure they all have a book in their back pocket with, here's the answers they gave me. It's a flow chart of sorts, and you end on maybe this drink or it's something like that. But I always thought that was an interesting idea. Now, of course, I want a menu. I want people to be able to choose, and especially for the volume that we do, that would be impossible.
Right.
But all of our staff at Sidebar is willing to attempt to be creative.
Nice.
Will you get something that you love every time? No, probably not. But that's the risk you take asking the question.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yes, we absolutely do that.
It's a great way to get to know each other.
Exactly. The reason that I did a gin and a rye split base, that's a very strange combination. Even when I was working on it, I was like, this doesn't make any sense.
That's what I said when I was buying the ingredients.
Like, this is a very odd combination. It shouldn't work, but it did.
It does,
and they still come in almost, they went down from weekly to monthly, budget constraints going out, 7 times a week. But, then they still do the same thing. And I still have people that say, hey, this is what I feel like drinking, but I want a margarita, but I don't want a margarita.
Yeah.
Okay. And I can take that and run with it. I can, and 90% of the time it works. And that 10% you get that person says, oh, this is really not what I want. I say, all right, I'm not going to charge you for it. I'm sorry. You don't have to drink it. I'll dump it out, and then I can get you something else.
Well, that's nice of you.
Well, it's my fault.
No, it isn't. It's their fault for trusting you to try to match their taste.
Well, it's about the customer satisfaction.
Oh, you're right. You're right. That's why you do what you do, because you're good at it and hospitable.
Well, it's also the benefit of being chef owned and operated, where if they say, hey, why did you throw that out? I said, well, did they walk out the door happy? Are they going to come back? And yes, they did. If you work for a hotel, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Everything that goes out has to be paid for.
Right.
There's no buying somebody a drink. There's no using a comp tab or anything like that. It's the beauty of small business. Mm-hmm. You can it's a higher cost margin. I totally get it, but it's a much easier way to work with ownership.
We've always talked about how the customer service at Sidebar is bar none. Mm-hmm. It is one of the best in the city.
It really
because
is.
of how great the staff is and the owners.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think it is top down.
Oh, absolutely. And on any given night, at least, there are 2 partnered owners, and if one of them isn't on the floor, they're both on the floor. Mm-hmm. Or if you find those 2 minutes where they're both off, if you asked for one of them, you'd get them in 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. That's what I really
And they
enjoy
always
about
go out of their way to say hi to us, and
They're wonderful.
they really are.
Yeah. Well, Tirsa does. I don't know the other one. Who's
Alberto? Since he's the chef, he's usually in the kitchen.
In the kitchen, yeah. That makes
We
sense.
see him more.
See him periodically.
He might pop out occasionally, but especially with the new menu rollout, he's back there all the time now. He's
Can't wait to try the new food. We were there the other night, but we had just the normal tapas. But can't wait to check out the new menu. So Alex, do you have any stories that you would like to share with us?
Now, I was thinking about this earlier today, and as much as I am a upscale casual bartender now, in my early days, I was not. Like I said, I came up from a music venue, dive bar, so I've had beer poured on me. I've been spat in the face. I've been swung at multiple times. Back when I was still working at Strongwater, there's a wedding venue or a big event space there as well.
Yeah.
And they have their own bar, and I was working in the restaurant. Now, the event space and the restaurant are separate. You're not supposed to bring beverages back and forth, but when weddings get out or rehearsal dinners get out, oftentimes the restaurant bar is open about 2 hours later than the event space. So a lot of times they'll mosey on up and continue their party. So one Friday we were particularly busy. It was one of the busier nights of the month, and there was a rehearsal dinner, and the wedding party was there, and they had had dinner and they were fine. We were kind of joking around with one or two of the groomsmen, but we were busy. I mean, there was probably 60 or 70 people in the bar, and there was just two bartenders working, and all of a sudden our POS went down. On a Friday night at 11:30.
Oh, shit.
So we're scrambling, trying to get the internet back up or whatever, figure out what the problem was, breaking out the knuckle buster to take the credit cards, and we finally get it fixed. We're just doing everything we can to keep everybody happy. I sort of, as soon as that happens, you just kind of look at your staff and just say, keep serving drinks, we'll figure it out later.
Yeah.
Because you don't want everybody to leave.
Right.
Now, eventually everybody did leave once it kind of quieted down. Night was over, I'll go home, come back the next day. It's another busy Saturday night, and now that same party is having their actual wedding. And I guess this wedding was rowdy. I mean, because they came up at 11:15, right after the kitchen had closed. So a lot of the bar patrons had kind of made their way out, and we could already hear one of the groomsmen that we were talking to the night before coming down the hallway. Because you don't have to go outside; there's a hallway, but there's just. So we can already hear him, and he is just gone. He is hammered out of his mind. I can hear him slurring, screaming, stumbling, whatever. So he comes out, and he looks at the same two bartenders working, me and the other guy. He just throws his hands up in the air and just goes, "These two motherfuckers, what the fuck happened last night?" And we were just like, whoa, we had just dealt with the entire dinner service for the night. Like, we're kind of in take a breath mode, wait for this next step. And this is the next step that we have to deal with, is this guy is coming in already just sweating, just belligerent. And so we're trying to figure out who he was. Like, all right, yes, I remember talking to you. But first I was like, who the hell is this guy? Who's talking to me this way, walking into my bar this way?
He's about to get cut.
And so he sits down on the bar stool, and then the rest of the wedding party comes up. It's probably about 30 people. So this is 30 people all walking in at once. Luckily, there's still two of us there. And a couple of them are sort of, questionable side. Nobody's as bad as this one guy. But he orders a drink from me. Okay. We try to appease the wedding guests because it's still the same ownership and the same company and whatnot. Like, all right, all of them always take taxis and Ubers, and usually they even have a charter bus taking them whatever hotels. Like, okay, fine. So I go down the other side of the bar, and I think he ordered a beer, which was like the longest walk from where he was sitting. And I got about halfway back up, and he falls out of his stool.
Oh, no.
And so I just put the beer on the back bar and said, and he's like, well, wait, that's mine. No, it's not.
Not anymore.
No, I said, he's like, oh, come on, man. I just slipped off. I was like, no, I'm not, I can't give that to you. And the father of the bride is standing behind him, and he's like, well, what do you mean? And the father of the bride is relatively sober. He's like, what do you mean? I said, well, he just fell out of his chair. I can't serve him.
Yeah.
He said, what do you mean? They're serving him back here. I was like, this is my bar.
Yeah.
Like, that's back there.
Good for you.
Yeah. I'm not going to serve him. It kind of turned into this whole thing where in about 0.8 of a second, this guy went from pleading to get his beer and smiling to his face totally turned, and the father of the bride had to hold him back from trying to jump over the bar and either grab me or the beer.
Oh my god!
And the bar there is big; it's wider than this table. So
right.
Even if I was standing right at the edge, she couldn't reach me.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. But I just kind of took a step back and crossed my arms and said, "I'm not serving you." And
And now I'm definitely not
right.
saying
And now I look at the father of the bride and said, look at this. And he's like, okay, I get it. And so a couple of other people are ordering from the other bartender, and there's a little bit of confusion. They think their wedding tab is still open. It's not. And even if it was, it's a separate bar, so we can't charge it. So a couple people are getting a little confused why the other bartender is charging them. And it erupts. It's just this all perfect storm of drunk wedding people trying to think that they still own the place, even though this is a public place. They're in a public space now.
Yes.
Turned into another miscommunication where the mother of the bride thought that we weren't going to serve anybody from the wedding party at all. Because I said, that guy's cut off. I'm not serving him. Mm-hmm. And then another guy, there was one other guy that was there, and I said, I'm not serving him either. Mm-hmm. And she flipped out. I remember specifically, she said the words, we just paid your rent for the entire month with this party. How dare you not serve us? And I just looked at her and was like, you didn't pay our rent at all. First of all, the guy owns the building, so there is no rent. So that's always fun. But and I was just trying to calm her down. I was like, let me get your coordinator. She can explain this to you. Like, this is a bar. This is a public bar. I have a liability. For me, I can't serve these people. Mm-hmm. She said, well, what's the problem with any of us getting a drink? I said, I didn't say that. Now you're saying that.
Yeah.
And then luckily my general manager was there, and she was able to sort of calm the situation, but they left in a huff. I mean, they were just, and it started with a guy almost trying to hit me just to get a beer, just to get like a Miller Lite.
Drunken fools.
Yeah.
So did anybody come back to apologize the next day?
Oh, absolutely not.
Wow.
I think the bride, in an email said, I'm sorry for my family. Because the bride and groom were gone at this point. It was just the wedding party.
Wow. Well, so let me just say that behavior is unacceptable.
Indeed.
But sort of in their defense, when there's free drinks to be had,
Oh, absolutely.
I personally will drink until I cannot drink anymore. There's something stupid about free shit that I'm just like,
who doesn't love an open bar?
Yeah.
True.
But I don't think I would ever act that way.
Right.
What a prick.
They had been there all day, so they already knew that, their bar was separate from our bar, and they had been there the night before paying for things. So what makes this night any different than any other night?
Right.
And there were
they were
other people in the bar when they got there, and those people left very quickly.
Oh man, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
So you should have been like the soup Nazi and been like, no more for you.
I mean,
no more for you.
It's kind of what he did.
That's kind of what I did. 'Cause I just kind of took a step back, crossed my arms, and said, no, this isn't happening.
Back of the line.
Yep.
No beer for you.
Mm-hmm. Wow. People are assholes.
Well,
sometimes.
It's a good story.
Yeah, it's a good story. Do you have any others you want to share?
oh, other than just, throwing people out of dive bars, the homeless guy spitting in my face was definitely a bad one, but it was, short version of that story is it was a free metal show. And so this guy walks in, he has an ID.
My head's going all sorts of places with that.
So he has an ID. He has a debit card to open a tab, and he looks like he could just be a grungy metalhead. He's got long, strangly hair. Mm-hmm. He's just kind of like, I don't know, walking around like a caveman, whatever. It's a metal show in the afternoon on a Sunday. I said, oh, all right, whatever. I don't have to take any money. So he opens a tab at the bar. I think he had half a beer, and then, I don't know, 10 minutes later, one of the bartenders came over and said, you let that guy in? I said, yeah. He said, well, he's tearing a sign down off the back wall right now. He's got to go. I look over, and sure enough, he's just ripping out. There's just a hung sign that was, I don't know, from one of the bands or something. He's just pulling on it. And so I go up to him and like, hey, dude, like, you can't do that. Like, you got to go. And he just turns around with like fire in his eyes. And I for sure thought he was going to hit me. And I took a step back because I didn't touch him or anything. I just called my attention to him. And he just sort of started mumbling at me. And I was like, oh no, like this isn't just a drunk metalhead. This is actually a problem. Luckily, the metal scene in Columbus, very nice community. Mm-hmm. Lots of very big burly men that because I was like 22 at the time. I was much smaller than I am now. So I didn't really know what to do. I was just like, man, what do I... Luckily, this big tattooed bald dude just came over and was like, grabbed him on the shoulder, grabbed his other arm so he couldn't do anything, and started walking him out and sort of pushed him towards the door, which was also close to the bar. And so I'm following him out, like ushering him out the door. And on his way out, he grabs a beer off the bar, which was not his, upends it into his mouth, turns around and spits it in my face.
Oh.
And then, and I just was like, and luckily again, it was the same dude just came over and was like, get the fuck out of here, which is something I'd already said like 4 times, but somebody like 4 times my size and at least twice this guy's size, just being like, get out was the funniest thing. And then 2 weeks later, one of the bands that were playing a show tried to get him in on their guest list. And I was like, no fucking way.
Oh, wow.
That guy is never allowed in here again. They're like, whoa, what's wrong with him? He seems awful nice. So it's like, yeah, not until he spits in your face, dude.
Holy shit. That's terrible.
funny.
That's dangerous, too. He could have any sort of disease.
Yeah.
Ugh, that's awful.
I actually later found out that he stabbed 2 people later after that.
No.
That night?
Kidding.
No, not that night.
Oh,
But,
just after that
I had another
incident.
confrontation with the same person once.
my
and then
gosh.
the cops were called and they told me to just,
Avoid.
don't confront him because he stabbed people before.
Shit.
It's like,
Oh,
all right,
my
great.
God.
Oh, I had two confrontations. I didn't get stabbed.
Noted.
Jeez. Wow, that's crazy. Wow, thank you for those stories.
Super
Shit.
exciting. I'm sure my
Holy
mom's going to love them.
shit. All right, well, Alex, thank you so much for being our guest, and tell our listeners when they can see you at Sidebar.
Sure. I am behind the bar, generally speaking, Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. I'm often there Wednesdays and Thursdays, sort of in a background role, or just all the time. I basically live there now. You can find me on Instagram at Drinks and Drums and at Sidebar Columbus.
And the band again?
She Bears, Shebears.
And
Do you
do you
have
have
any-
a release date yet for?
No.
No. Okay.
It was supposed to be the fall, but we're not done with it yet. So.
Well, let us know, and we'll post that, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
And listeners, ask for the G&J cocktail, and you will get it. Sans the
delicious.
smoked ice.
Sure.
All right. Thank you so
delicious.
much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Listeners, please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Seabus Craft Cocktail Tour. Visit our website at columbuscraftcocktailtour.com for cocktail tour dates, women and whiskey tastings, special events, merchandise, and if you're looking for a gift for that special person in your life, get them a gift card to our cocktail tour. Thank you to our producer, Greg Hansberry, and to the biographer for our original music. And please remember to drink responsibly and be cocktail curious. Cheers.